Hello, welcome to our podcast. I'm Dolly.
And I'm Jolene.
And we're here to weird you out.
With sex.
Jolene, what content warnings are there for us today?
In this book, there's discussion of incest, attempted sexual assault, violence, toxic masculinity, infantilization of a disabled adult, drug addiction, and toxic and abusive family dynamics.
Listener discretion is advised. On with the show. Welcome to the Womanly Portal podcast.
On this podcast, we discuss explicit books in explicit detail.
And we say fuck a lot.
Listener discretion is advised.
This podcast is not for people under the age of 18.
On with the show. Hi, listeners. I'm Jolene.
And I'm Dolly.
And we're here to weird you out.
With sex.
Book sex.
Jolene, what kind of book sex are you weirding us out with today?
I am so glad you asked. I'm here to weird you out with cousin sex.
Yeah, I'm weirded out.
Already. Hooray.
Already.
The book that we are talking about today is The Talk of Coyote Canyon, which is the second book in the Coyote Canyon series by Brenda Novak. The description on the back of the book says, "She's not here to make friends, she's here to make trouble." With her piercings, tattoos, and spiky blonde hair, Ellen Truesdale doesn't quite fit in with the other folks in Coyote Canyon, and that's just fine with her. She's only here to put her father out of business as payback for abandoning her when she was young. Or is she more interested in finally proving that she was worth keeping? Either way, she's struggling to keep her rival well-drilling company afloat, and being a single woman in a male-dominated field has started to take a toll. So when Hendrix Durant steps in to help, Ellen has no choice but to let him, even though he happens to be her father's business partner, and therefore her enemy. But the closer she works with him, the more she sees what she's been missing in life and love. And once she lets go of her anger long enough to learn the truth about her past, she might just find the family she always wanted. So that's the description of the book. It's pretty accurate, but it leaves out a whole lot of things. Most importantly, her actual relationship with Hendrix, which we'll get into pretty early on.
Is it the cousin sex?
It's the cousin sex.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
So we already got into it.
Yeah. So I need to start by introducing you to some characters.
Okay.
Because there's kind of a lot, and you only need to know a few, but you need to know how they're all related to each other.
Okay.
Because it's all a little bit fucked up.
Are we going to need, like, a map or anything?
You know, that would be helpful, but this is an audio medium, so I don't think it would be helpful for our listeners.
We'll post it on the Instagram.
I'm just going to do my best, okay?
All right, let's dive in.
I don't want to draw a napkin family tree on here. Okay, so our main character, obviously, is Ellen Truesdale, as stated by the back of the book. She's 31, and she is the daughter of Stuart and Jan. Stuart and Jan divorced when Ellen was 10 years old, and Jan took Ellen and moved to a place called Anaconda, Montana.
You're joking.
No, that's for real.
Okay.
That's for real. I don't know if that's a real place.
Okay.
Stuart stayed in Coyote Canyon, Montana, and married Lynn, who already had a son who was 11 at the time, so 1 year older than Ellen. And his name is Leo, and he has Down syndrome. You need to know about Leo because he comes back.
And he's 1 year older.
Yes, he's 1 year older than Ellen. She only met him like a handful of times because really quickly after the divorce, Stuart just ended up having nothing to do with Ellen at all. He just let her go and never visited, never accepted her requests to come and visit, never let her stay at their house even when she was staying with her grandparents nearby. She never came to Christmases or anything, so she always felt pretty hurt by that abandonment.
Yeah, he sucks.
Yeah. It was made a lot worse when Stuart's new wife, Lynn, adopted her nephew, Hendrix, whose mom died like shortly after Stuart and Lynn got married.
So the dad functionally wouldn't show up for her, but is now an adopted father to this.
Right, to this boy who's her same age.
Okay.
Who he has no relation to other than through his wife, and who he really took a liking to. Like, really took him into the fold, raised him to be a hard worker in the same business that he's in, which is drilling wells. And then once Hendrix was, I think, 18, Hendrix became Stuart's business partner. So they have equal share in the business, and the understanding is that Stuart will retire and give the business to Hendrix. So if you're taking notes, you will recognize that this means, since Lynn is Hendrix's aunt, and
mom
and adopted mother, and Ellen's Stuart's daughter, that makes them at best cousins by marriage.
At worst,
Step siblings by marriage. They never explicitly say that Lynn has fully adopted Hendrix, or even that Stuart had, but she definitely took him in when his mom died. And Stuart does talk about Hendrix like he's the son he never had.
Okay.
So the relationship is weird, and you can understand that Ellen has resentment towards Hendrix because of that, because she feels like he replaced her in her father's life, and all she's ever wanted is to be in her dad's life. In part because her mom, Jan, sucks. She's the fucking worst. She's neglectful. She's basically parentified Ellen from the age of 10 years old, but not to take care of siblings, to take care of Jan. She's been parenting her mom since she was 10 years old.
Yeah.
At this point in the story, at the very beginning, Jan has called her and is like, hey, I need you to help me with my rent again. And we're led to understand this is like a pretty normal thing, that Ellen sends her money that she really can't afford to send her, and Jan spends it on drugs.
All right.
And not her rent. And then she gets kicked out of her house, and Ellen has to help find her a new rental, and she can't hold down a job because she keeps sleeping with her bosses, and it's like a whole thing.
All right.
That's basically all you need to know about Jan.
Okay.
She comes up in the story like 2 more times, and that's basically it.
They don't explain if this was like her whole life type of thing.
What do you mean?
Like, is that what caused the divorce?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. She's been an addict the whole time, and that's what led to the divorce. And they are not kind to the character of Jan when they talk about it. They're pretty brutal about it.
I mean, that kind of makes the dad worse.
A little bit.
You divorced your wife because she's an addict and let your kid go with.
Ellen's life is really, really hard because she has to take care of Jan so much. And she was 10 years old when all of this happened.
Right.
And Jan's life is really, really hard. And she tells everybody it's because Stuart won't pay child support. So at this point in the story, what we have is a backstory of Ellen feeling really resentful towards Stuart's entire family, Hendrix included, because she feels replaced in her father's life. A father who would not even pay child support to her mother, who has been relying on her to cover the extra costs of their bills and things her whole entire life.
Right.
So yeah, I would be resentful too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Naturally.
Right. So in Anaconda, she was working for this guy named Ross, who is a well driller, but she left 2.5 years ago to move to Coyote Canyon with the explicit goal of running her father and Hendrix out of business.
That's a lot of spite.
Yeah, it is a lot of spite. It's also really ballsy because Stuart's business, which is called Fetterman Well Services, that's his last name, Fetterman Well Services, is the biggest well drilling operation in Coyote Canyon, and they go all around. They go to Utah, they go to Montana, all over the place, they travel, and they've got a huge staff. And she is literally one person with one employee.
Okay.
So, at the beginning of the book, we meet up with Hendrix, who's at a job site for this guy named Jay Haslam. And he needs a well drilled. He needs a well drilled. And it was a Fetterman Well Services job through and through because Jay and Hendrix are like buddies.
Okay.
But Ellen outbid them. She said to Jay, I will do the job for $1,000 less than whatever Fetterman says. I don't care what they tell you, I will do it for $1,000 less. And that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
So he's like, okay. And Hendrix is fucking pissed.
Yeah.
He's so pissed about it that he drives all the way to the site that Ellen is currently working on with her one employee, Ben. He cusses her out right in front of her employee. And he's like, I can't believe you would fucking do this. And she bites back, and they end the argument with Hendrix saying, don't make me put you out of business, Ellen. I don't want to. And he drives off, and he almost hits Ben with his truck on the way out.
Wow. So Ben is just collateral in all of this.
No, it gets so much worse.
Okay, good.
I mean, kind
Swervy.
of. Yeah. So he drives in a fury back to the offices, and he says to Stuart, you have to do something about your daughter. And Stuart's like, what the fuck do you want me to do about it? He's like, I don't fucking care what you do about it. She's been here for 2.5 years. You haven't said a single goddamn word to her. She's obviously doing this to undercut our business. And at this point, I think it's your fault because you're not willing to do anything about it. And he's like, you're right. But I didn't do right by her, Hendrix. You don't understand. And Hendrix is like, so go apologize or some shit. I don't give a shit. Save our business by saving your relationship with your kid already.
Yeah.
And so he's like, okay, I'll do it tomorrow. He pushes it off. I appreciate that in a man.
Yeah.
So before Stuart has an opportunity to go make amends with Ellen, Hendrix goes to the local bar. There's only one. He goes to the local hangout, and he happens to see Ben there. And he has a few too many, and he's like, I shouldn't do this, but I'm going to anyway. And he goes and he sits down with Ben, and he basically is like, you're not really getting paid that much, are you? Ben's like, I mean, I'm not even a full driller. I'm just like an assistant. So it makes sense. And Ellen's good to me. Like, she's a good boss. He's like, she a good enough boss that you wouldn't take a gig that offers you 30% more? And Ben is like, are you offering me a job right now? He's like, I've got a driller that's leaving, and I can pay you 30% more. You'd be a full driller. You wouldn't just be an assistant. Think it over. And Ben's like, okay, I'll think it over. And the next morning, Ellen is trying to get a hold of Ben by texting him. There's so much texting in this book. She's like, where are you? You're supposed to be here. And he's like, you know what? We have been working 6 days a week for 2 years. And Ellen's like, are you asking for the day off? You can just ask for the day off. He's like, no, I think I'm asking for a raise. And so they have negotiations.
Via text.
Via text, presumably. It's off page.
Oh, okay.
What we find out is that she has to pay him more than Hendrix offered. He says Hendrix Durant made me an offer that I don't know if I can refuse. So she has to pay him more than Hendrix offered and give him more time off. And she's like, I really don't know if I can keep the business afloat if I have to do this for you. And he's like, don't care. I would like this raise, please. And so she gives him the raise. And he starts to act like a total jackass about it. Like, so entitled. He basically is like, you need me to keep this business afloat. No one else will work with you because you're such an alternative person. And this is where we are introduced to how everybody in Coyote Canyon presumably just thinks Ellen is the weirdest of all time.
Yeah.
Right, because she has tattoos, and her hair is bleached and short, and she has a nose ring.
Oh my god, that's really wild, though.
I know.
I've never met anybody with all of those things.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm sitting right across from you right now. I mean, my hair's not short and spiky, but it is dyed.
It used to be.
That's true, in high school, that's true. I looked just like Billy Idol in high school. That's 100% true. I should show you my student ID sometime. I think it's important that I show you a picture of Brenda Novak from the back of the book also.
All right, let me describe her.
There you go.
Let's see. That is the, did we already say that was the author?
That's the author, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so she looks like maybe she was describing herself.
A little bit. I don't know if she has tattoos because she's wearing long sleeves. I don't think she has a nose ring.
No, but she has a nose for a nose ring.
She does.
There might be a nose ring. Maybe she just took it out for the photo.
It's just that she has that exact haircut.
Yeah, it
feels weird that she has that exact haircut.
Yeah, it feels that way.
It feels a little weird. It's fine.
All right.
So maybe a little bit of a self-insert piece, we don't know.
I hope so, honestly.
I
hope her husband is her cousin.
I hope so. She has a really long dedication at the beginning of the book that's very emotional about how her mom and her father and her father-in-law all died in the same year, and that this book is dedicated to the people who supported her during that time. And there was something about how she had to work to get her mother's water rights back during all of this time, and her mom was scammed out of $50,000 at the same time. So the well services thing is kind of coming from that experience. So I feel a little bit bad for joking about it being a self-insert piece, because it very well might be.
Was her cousin who supported her? Because I'm to be honest, if you wrote a book after I supported you through a really, really dark time, and you were like, yeah, the family all fucks, I would be like, oh, please don't dedicate that to me.
Oh no. Oh no. It's a weird book to dedicate to all of those people.
Yeah, a little bit.
Anyway, so we are led to believe throughout the book that Ellen is an outcast in Coyote Canyon. That's why this book is called The Talk of Coyote Canyon. And I need you to understand that because we're going to talk about how popular Ellen is in this town, and I need you to know why that's confusing.
Okay, all right.
She is supposedly very alternative in her fashion. So I'd like to describe a couple of her outfits. At one point, she wears... Oh, you know what? I think I marked this. She was wearing a tiered dress with a bulky sweater, big hoop earrings, and work boots. She looked so feminine, despite the boots, which weren't the type most women would pair with a dress, that Hendrix felt slightly out of sync.
Okay.
Okay, so that's like a normal outfit for kind of a boho chic kind of girl, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cut off shorts and a peace sign t-shirt at one point.
That is alternative.
Is it?
I don't... No.
It feels very like 2004.
It feels Old Navy.
It does feel Old Navy. That's exactly the vibe. So she dresses like she shops at the Gap.
Yes.
And it's considered very alternative for this conservative town. So I'm not sure how everybody else is dressed, because they never describe anybody else's outfits.
Prairie clothing.
Prairie clothing. Everyone's just dressed like Anne of Green Gables.
That's right.
They always describe her as being like going her own way and doing her own thing, even in her fashion, and how alluring that is now that Hendrix has gotten used to her. Because at first it was very off-putting.
Ah.
Yes.
Yes.
And they always talk about her tattoos as being really jarring and people thinking that they're really trashy until they get to know her, and then they just think that they're so beautiful.
They're roses with thorns? Like what?
She does have flowers, I think, on her arm, and she has the solar system on her ribs, maybe?
Interesting. Two tattoos. Oof.
Or up higher on her arm.
Yeah.
She doesn't have that many tattoos. She has like 4 or 5 tattoos. And I'm like...
I've been imagining like sleeves.
No, I think she might have a half sleeve on one of her arms. And that's about as risque as it gets. But she's always wearing long sleeves because she's a driller, so she has to wear long sleeves. So you never fucking see them anyway. So like, what the fuck? Not a big a deal. Anyway.
All right.
Okay, so you need to know that about her. So that's why Ben is like, I have all this leverage over you because no one else is going to work for you.
Right. Wait, is Ben from this town?
He is.
Okay, so she found him and hired him when she moved.
Yes, she hired him when he was a senior in high school.
Ah, okay.
So he now is like 21 years old and he lives in a trailer with his fiance. And he's like, this is a great opportunity for me because we're going to want to get married soon and the raise would be super helpful, right?
Right.
So he's shooting his shot and he's being a dumbass about it because he's 21.
Perfect. All right.
So we're going to leave that there for a second. Ellen's very, very, very best friend is Tallulah.
Okay.
Tallulah was the main character of the previous novel in this series.
Okay.
You need to know that because so much of this book is about Tallulah.
Oh.
It feels like this book is an epilogue to Tallulah's story in some chapters where I'm like, we don't need to know this.
Yes.
We don't want to know this. I don't know who she is. I don't give a shit. So there's like entire chapters that I just skip over. So I'm like, fuck, I don't give a shit about Tallulah. Okay?
Who's Tallulah with?
Brant.
Is Brant Hendrix' best friend or something?
No, he's... This is so stupid. Brant is Hendrix's best friend's older brother.
Oh, okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect, yeah.
Yes. He's also boring, and he doesn't do anything. He's barely in the story at all.
How long has Tallulah been best friends with Ellen?
About 2 years.
Okay.
Like, since she moved to Coyote Canyon.
Okay. They're not, like, from childhood.
No.
Got it.
No.
Okay, okay.
No, because Tallulah is also from Coyote Canyon, so she grew up there, but Ellen grew up in Anaconda.
Right,
Yeah.
after 10.
After the age of 10. Yeah, until like 29 or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Tallulah owns a dessert diner.
Adorable.
Yes. I'm so glad you knew what that was, because it took me a really long time to get a picture of what a dessert diner would be in my head. It's just, I was so confused. Like, do you sit down and order? No, it's just a place where you buy desserts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you could sit down and eat.
Yeah, they have tables, but it's not like a waitress comes over to you and you order a side of hash cake or something.
No, it's like a bakery, functionally.
It's a bakery. Why don't they just call it a fucking bakery?
I don't know. It's all sorts of desserts.
It's fine. So Tallulah owns a dessert diner in town. And when Ellen isn't working her jobs, she sometimes helps Tallulah at her bakery.
Okay.
So since Ben asked for the day off, she's helping Tallulah at the dessert diner.
I thought that she was at a job site. Was she just like, I guess I'll be back tomorrow?
Yeah.
Because she can't do it alone? Or?
She can't do it alone. No, it's really, really unsafe to drill by yourself.
Got it.
Which is why she is the one employee. So instead, she's working for Tallulah that day. While she's helping out, this guy comes in, and he's an old man having a midlife crisis.
Okay.
So the way that we know this is because he's wearing a leather jacket and he's dyed his hair jet black.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And he rides a motorcycle around town that he, just barely got.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Mm-hmm.
And he's hitting on Ellen hard.
Okay, yes.
But,
because he, too, is alternative.
Like attracts like. I see your spiky blonde hair and it goes with my leather jacket perfectly. Yeah, exactly.
I know I shouldn't, but I keep imagining Rudy Giuliani.
No, that's exactly what I was picturing too.
Like the dye just coming down his
sweating
side.
down his face. Yeah, and I imagine in my mind that it's coiffed into an Elvis haircut. That's how I imagine it.
All right.
Okay, so Elvis Giuliani walks in, and they say that he's hitting on her hard, but all he's really doing is taking way, way, way too long to order, because he doesn't like sweets, and he just keeps saying no to every suggestion that she makes.
Why is he in a dessert diner if he doesn't like sweets?
Because Ellen is there.
Okay, yep.
Yeah, exactly. So while this is happening and Ellen is like, I just wish this guy would leave because I know that what he wants to do is ask me out, but I don't want to have that conversation.
Right.
Hendrix walks in.
Naturally.
With Leo, who, if we'll remember, is the older brother with Down syndrome.
Oh, okay.
So this is a problem because Hendrix was told explicitly not to buy Leo sweets anymore. He used to bring him a donut every single day, but the doctor said Leo can't have sweets anymore. We're getting the vibe of pre-diabetic.
Okay.
Stop buying him sweets. It's the one thing Lynn asked him not to do was buy him sweets anymore.
Okay.
But we are led to believe that makes Lynn controlling and Hendrix a good guy to keep buying Leo sweets.
Naturally.
Right. Because, men know better than women, I guess.
Yeah, always.
Yeah.
It's been my experience.
Right. And the nice thing to do for a person is give them everything they want instead of helping them be healthy human beings who can live a long and fulfilled life.
Right.
Right.
Okay, so you said Leo is the brother who has Down syndrome.
Yes.
Okay. Are they infantilizing him?
Yeah, kind of.
Okay.
So here's the deal. I have never really interacted with adults with Down syndrome before.
Okay.
So when I talk about this, I'm not going to make a lot of leaps of judgment because I don't know what's real and what's not. Right?
Okay.
But it does feel a little icky. I don't know if it, we know he's 32 years old and a full-ass adult and he feels really capable of doing a lot of things. And it feels like his family stops him from doing things because they perceive him not to be capable, even though we're shown that he is.
Okay.
Right? Later in the book, Ellen lets Leo drive the riding lawnmower and mow her lawn for her, and Lynn is fucking pissed. It's never let him do that kind of a thing. That's so irresponsible. It's but we were just shown that he can do that.
Right.
And so I don't know where those lines are, and so I don't want to be that guy.
Got
you know
it.
what I mean?
Okay.
Sorry, so far this hasn't been very funny.
I don't know, I liked the alternative guy.
Okay, so alternative guy's name is Rocco.
Rocco, of course it is. Okay.
Yeah, I know. And all I can think of is Rocco's modern life. So he's a wallaby with a bad dye job.
Is he gonna keep showing up?
Okay, so here's the thing. I'm introducing all of these characters, and he does show up later, but not for 3 hours of the book.
Does he play any role in this story?
Yes, unfortunately.
Okay.
Yes, I'm so sorry. So Rocco leaves once Hendrix gets there, but not without ordering a piece of coconut cream pie that he doesn't want and leaving a $10 tip.
Okay.
Which is clearly meant to be a signal, right? This is our first example of toxic masculinity, by the way, which Brenda Novak seems to be aware of, but she does not seem to be aware of how to handle it.
Got it.
So she's really grateful that Hendrix and Leo come in because they chase off Rocco, but she's really pissed that they come in because then she has to interact with Hendrix. But she doesn't have anything against Leo.
No.
At all. So it's important to note that Hendrix has come in with a date as well. So it's Hendrix and Leo and a woman.
Oh, okay.
I forgot about that until just now. There's so many details. He has invited this woman to the dessert diner so that he can get Ellen out of his head.
Naturally.
Naturally. She never comes back.
The date.
She never ever comes back.
I mean, I don't know if I would.
She wants to, but she doesn't.
Is she unaware that her date is in love with his cousin sister?
Yes. She is like their accountant or something.
Their accountant?
Yeah.
Dude.
She doesn't work in the office, but they like flirt every time.
He's got to figure out how to not shit where he eats. Like, what the fuck?
That's like his thing.
Family, business, like...
His honey and his money are the same thing.
Try Tinder. Like, what the fuck?
Oh, I'm so glad you brought up Tinder. That'll come back. That will come back. Okay, so Ellen is like, clearly they're on a date. So she invites Leo to come and help in the back with her, and she, like, lets him play with the mixer and the hose and stuff and, like, help her clean dishes and stuff, which he thinks is great. And then Hendrix is like, all right, Veronica, or whatever your name is, I'll talk to you never. And then takes Leo home, and all Leo will talk about is how cool Ellen is, and he won't shut the fuck up. So that's a problem when they go back home, and Lynn finds out that Leo's been hanging out with Ellen all day. Lynn fucking hates Ellen.
Why? It's not like she had to raise her.
I know. Well, it's really hard for me to figure it out until, like, the very, very end. But she, like, constantly shits on Ellen to everybody around her. And every time Hendrix is like, but why, though? She's like, you didn't know what she was like as a child. She was a terror child. She was a nightmare baby. And it's like, she was 10 years old, ma'am. 10 years old. So we are led to believe that Lynn is a terrible person.
Okay.
Everyone's on board with, you are punishing an adult person for who they were as a child when they were in an abusive situation. And you could have done something about it, and you chose not to.
Yeah.
Like, you're a bitch. Fuck you.
Naturally.
Everybody feels that way about Lynn. Mostly Hendrix. But...
his own mother.
His own aunt mom?
His own aunt mom?
He does call her his aunt, so she must not have, like, adopted him. But his own aunt mom, yeah. And so he feels like this responsibility to be grateful to her for, like, bringing him in when he needed her. But also, the more that he grows to like Ellen, the more that he hates her.
Okay.
Yeah. When Stuart actually goes to talk to Ellen.
The dad is Stuart.
The dad. When the dad goes to talk to Ellen, to be like, it's time for us to talk about our feelings. He says, I got something I want to say to you. And she's on a job site, so she's like, I don't want anything to do with you right now. And I'm still really pissed about what happened with Ben.
Yeah.
So she says, did you want to talk to me about how you tried to steal my driller?
Right.
And he's like, I did not know about that. I will talk to you later. And he drives off.
Good talk.
Yeah. So then Hendrix comes up to Stuart and is like, did you do it? He's like, did I do what? Did you talk to Ellen? And he's like, no, because you set me up. And he's like, what? He's like, I got there, and all she wanted to talk about was how you tried to steal Ben. So fuck you. You put me up for a trap. And he's like, oh no.
I didn't remember doing that.
I didn't know I did that. So he remembered doing it. He just didn't remember that it would be a big deal.
Naturally.
Yeah. So he goes to Ellen's, and he's like, I heard what happened with Ben. I'm really, really sorry. That was uncool of me. But when he gets there to make that apology, Ellen is in a bathrobe and panties.
She answered the door like that?
Yes. Yes.
Her family isn't like my family.
She answers the door in a bathrobe. Hendrix gets his dick all tingly, and he can't handle it, so he apologizes and he leaves.
What the fuck?
No, it's okay. Say what you want to say. Go ahead.
I just feel like maybe there's a merch opportunity around get your dick tingly, but also it sounds kind of like an STD. Or some sort of possession.
Well, it's okay, because he hasn't had sex in 6 months, and that's a really long time. They keep mentioning that. So he probably doesn't have an STD.
Jolene, that's not how STDs work.
Well...
You definitely can have one even if you haven't had sex for 6 months.
I mean, yeah, but he's only ever been in long-term relationships
and he has
with good, God-fearing women.
But he's got tingly dick.
He does have tingly dick.
It makes it almost sound like his limb has fallen asleep.
His dick limb?
His dick. Yeah, it almost sounds like his dick limb is falling asleep.
It's anything but asleep, Dolly. Anything but asleep. It's awake for the first time in 6 whole months.
The tingly sensation is once you start to get your blood back in there, so I guess that tracks.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's been asleep for 6 months, and it's awoken.
So you trying to, like, shake it out like you do when your foot falls asleep?
Well, he's trying, but not in public.
Oh. Okay.
Anyway, suffice it to say...
Tingle dick.
Tingle dick. He says what he wants to say, and he just dips out of there.
He's just like, sorry about Ben.
Yeah.
My dick's tingly, gotta go.
Kinda. And she says, don't you feel bad for me, Hendrix Durant. Don't you ever feel bad for me. And then she slams the door and goes inside.
Wow.
Yeah.
That feels like a mid-century TV scene.
Yeah, I might have gotten that mixed up with a different scene, but she does say that, and it did feel very dramatic.
Okay.
So shortly thereafter...
How is she feeling? Is she having feelings for Hendrix, or is just Hendrix is alone in Tingle Dick?
Well, I'm so glad that you asked. She is moved by the fact that he apologized.
So she's just buried the bar there.
Yeah, well, she hasn't gotten her dick wet in 3 years.
Which is not a long time. It's a long time.
It's a long time. It's so long that she went off birth control.
I feel like that matters.
Yeah, it will later
in the
on.
Story.
So she goes inside, she gets a text. So much texting. Wait, does she get a text? No, she gets a phone call. So many phone calls. Okay. The phone call is from who? Who do you think?
Not Hendrix, he just left with Tingle Dick.
Exactly.
Okay.
Who else?
Ben?
Nope.
Lynn?
Nope.
Stuart?
No.
Leo?
No.
Oh, her mom.
No.
Rocco.
Rocco! There you go. First try. She gets a call from Rocco, and Rocco says, it was so nice to see you at the dessert diner. And she was like, oh, okay, all right, great. Thank you for calling. Have a nice night. And he's like, no, wait.
Why did she answer?
She didn't know it was him.
Oh, this is like the
It was an
90s
unknown
before
number.
you had...
No,
Why would you answer an unknown number?
Well, I'm so glad you asked, because it says in the book... She wouldn't normally pick up an unknown phone call, but something about this one. I'm like, that's such a bullshit yada yada way to get through this. This is so dumb. So she picks up the phone, it's Rocco, and he asks her out. And she's like, hey, you're so nice, but I just don't feel that way about you. And he starts to cuss her out.
Oh, yeah.
So you've
definitely
just been,
not a love connection.
You've just been leading me on?
Working that dessert counter?
Yeah. She's like...
When I don't even like sweets?
Yeah, and she's feisty and independent, you know? So she, fires back. She's like, I'm sorry that you made assumptions, but, I have never done anything to make you think.
Well, she cut her hair
Yeah.
and got tattoos.
Exactly.
Obviously.
And he's like...
And she shops at Gap.
He
like, loves the Gap.
What about that $10 tip? You think I just leave $10 tips around town for anybody who hands me a piece of pie? And she's like, well, I mean, what did you expect me to do? Just give it back? That's awkward and rude. I wasn't gonna just... it felt less awkward to accept it than to give it back to you and turn you down right there and then when you hadn't even asked me out yet.
Right.
And he was like...
Could you imagine asking somebody out and then sliding them a tenner?
I know. Hey, I hope... who's on the 10? Alexander Hamilton? I hope Alexander Hamilton helps convince you to take me to dinner tonight.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, hopefully this will cover the cost of the French fries we get.
You're buying, right?
You're buying. Well, I'll buy the French fries. With this $10 that I just gave you. So, to smooth things over a little bit, she says, well, I'm kind of seeing somebody.
Okay.
And he's like, who? Who in this godforsaken town could you possibly be seeing? Nobody trusts you like I do. Nobody. And she's like, well, he's from out of town. He's like, who could this possibly be? And she decides to tell him that she's seeing this guy, Jordan, who she met on hit dating app, dating site.
Oh, dating site. Yeah.
Everybody just calls it the dating site for the entire book. And I get that that's it's okay, maybe a copyright problem,
okay,
maybe.
Yep.
But it's just make up a dating site name.
Match.com.
Nobody says, I'm going to block him on the dating site. Nobody says that.
Yeah,
it's
naturally.
So weird. It's so weird. But she has actually met this guy on dating site.
I feel like we should start a dating site called Dating Site.
to get this book in trouble.
Yes. That's how that works.
I really don't want to run a dating site. I really don't.
What if, instead of being a dating site, it was like a free and for sale site? Mutual aid.
It was a
Not that kind of aid.
It was a what? A what site?
Free and for sale.
Free
and for sale.
Free and for sale.
Yeah. Like Craigslist.
Oh, like Craigslist.
Like Craigslist.
You want us to run
the dating site.
Craigslist called dating site.
Yeah.
No, Dolly. Your business plans aren't good. No. All
right.
No.
So she's dating Jordan.
She's not.
She's
literally
pretending to date Jordan.
She's basically matched with him on Tinder.
Okay.
And she's told Rocco that she's dating Jordan so that he'll leave her alone.
And Jordan is just a rando, right?
He's just a rando. He lives 5 hours away in Libby.
That's a long drive.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is a terrific segue. Because she told Rocco that she's dating Jordan, she decides to actually date Jordan.
Well, now she can't be a liar.
So Jordan lives 5 hours away in Libby.
Okay.
Right? And that's a super, super long drive. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So when she goes onto dating site, talks with Jordan for an hour, and then invites him to come down for the entire weekend.
Seems wrong.
You can understand why that's kind of high stakes. Right?
Yeah.
That's
a lot.
That's a lot. And not a great idea, safety-wise.
Yeah, and naturally. Yeah, he's a serial killer.
Right. He's a dentist. The look you're giving me, like, yeah, there you go. Yeah, he's a dentist. It's important to know also...
Why do you think people have such a natural fear of their dentist?
I love my dentist.
Yeah, but if you had to go to a different dentist?
I mean, I like the dentist. The dentist is a spa for your mouth.
We are different people.
We're also clearly different people. The look that both of you just gave me. I love the way my teeth feel after the dentist.
Everybody has a fear of the dentist.
No, I'm not afraid of the dentist.
You're not everybody.
That's true.
No.
I am my own beast.
You're Jolene. Man stealing Jolene.
I'm Jolene. Dentist stealing Jolene. So Jordan the dentist comes down for the weekend from Libby.
Okay.
Tallulah tells Ellen, be careful. This seems like a really bad idea.
Yeah.
Because Tallulah's a good friend.
Yeah, and not an idiot.
Not a moron. And Ellen's like, yeah, what the fuck ever.
She's like, my haircut will protect me.
And she doesn't take it too seriously because how dangerous could a dentist be? Because she's never seen Little Shop of Horrors.
Yeah, or been to the dentist.
Or, again, I love my dentist. She's great. So she meets up with Jordan first at a public place, which is the only bar in town.
Okay, yep.
It's important to note there is shit to do in this town. Like, absolutely fuck all. There's nothing.
Also, we should ask some questions about Jordan in general.
Okay.
Who the fuck drives 5 hours for a first date?
I know. They've talked on the phone
podunk town
once.
With nothing to do but to go to the bar.
I know.
Like, I would make them meet me halfway, at the very least.
Right.
At another podunk town bar.
Well, and like, I should say, like, ahead of this, because we're talking about it, originally, she wasn't going to have that much time to spend with him over the weekend. Because she was going to be working jobs.
Right.
But Ben calls her last minute on, like, Monday of this week. Jordan's coming down Friday, right? Monday of this week, Ben calls her and is like, I'm going to need 3 days off this weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Because I'm going to a wedding in Salt Lake City with my girlfriend, and we have to drive down there in the truck. And it's like, sir, you gave me 4 days notice, max?
Yeah.
Fuck you. So Ben's being a piece of shit, but that means her weekend is clear. But her weekend wasn't clear when she made those plans. She was just going to work those 3 days.
Right.
While Jordan is down there Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Well, but he could go to the bar.
That's about it.
Or give dental work.
Yeah, this is a town of 3,000 people.
Yeah, that would keep him busy.
There are high schools bigger than this town.
Yeah.
It's fucking crazy.
Imagine how many root canals he could get done in 3 days.
Well, I'm so glad that you mentioned that, because he did an emergency root canal the morning that he drove down.
In his own town.
In his own town.
Got it.
So
okay.
in Libby, he does an emergency root canal, then he drives 5 hours. He's gotta be tired.
Right.
Yeah, he shows up at 8, 9 o'clock at night. They go to the bar immediately. They stay there for hours. For at least 2 hours.
Are they having a good time?
They're having an alright time. He's kind of boring. And he's really conservative.
Okay.
Which is weird because he's from Portland originally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he likes alternative women.
And he likes alternative women. She even asks him, are you sure I'm what you were expecting? Because, like, tattoos.
Yeah. Nose piercing.
Nose piercing. And he's like, yeah, I wouldn't have driven 5 hours if I didn't see her pictures and like them.
Okay.
And she's like, okay, great. And so that they have a nice time chatting, but they don't have a lot in common. She asks him if he wants to play pool. It turns out she's really good at pool and she likes it. And he says the closest he gets to pool is chess. So they make plans to play chess in the park in the morning.
Very cute. So I feel like as the date, this was a perfect chance to reverse a trope and be like, great, let me teach you how to play pool.
Yeah,
and then she
you would
could
think.
like show him how to hold it.
So you would think, but instead what happens is Hendrix shows up with his best friend Kurt. Because again, this is the only bar in town. So like everybody in town is at this goddamn bar.
Yeah.
And they have a really awkward interaction where Kurt is like hitting on Ellen because Kurt thinks Ellen is hot now.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Kurt doesn't know that Hendrix has the hots for his cousin sister.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
Nobody knows. Nobody knows that Hendrix has the hots for his cousin sister except for Hendrix. But Hendrix has always known that Kurt has the hots for Ellen because Ellen used to date Kurt's brother Brant, who is now married to Ellen's best friend Tallulah.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Because friendcest is also a thing in this book.
Why not?
Yeah.
Friendcest doesn't seem like that big of a deal when you're fucking your own cousin.
No. No, it doesn't. You would think it would cause more problems than it actually does, though. Like, nobody gives a shit.
I actually assume in a small town,
It probably doesn't.
it just everybody fucks each other.
Yeah, that's
right?
probably true. You're right. That's big city thinking. Because I'm from such a big city. That's from
Huge.
the biggest city in the whole country. So, that situation is super awkward, and Jordan doesn't clock that Ellen fucking hates those guys, okay?
Right.
Yeah, he has no idea.
No.
So she goes to the bathroom, and when she comes back, Jordan has accepted an invitation from Hendrix and Kurt to play pool.
Are you joking?
No!
He doesn't play pool.
I know! Well, and they had just had a conversation where she was like, do you want to play pool? And he's like, not really. But when two men ask him to, two men who, by the way,
Are hot.
Okay, here's the thing, is I'm not into conservative cowboys.
Weird.
So, I know. So,
But you're so alternative.
yeah, my nose ring and piercings, and I'm sorry, my nose ring and tattoos really should have made that a thing for me, but they didn't, surprisingly. So I don't know if they're hot. Hendrix is described very specifically as Brad Pitt in the movie Troy.
That is some conservative clothing. Very old school.
I need to look this up because I've never seen this movie.
Troy?
Oh, that's what he looks like? Is his hair that long? I never imagined his hair to be that long. That seems dangerous as a driller. But I guess so. I wonder if he pulls it into one of those little buns like Chris Hemsworth.
I bet he does.
I hope so. I like that. So yes, he accepts an invitation to play pool from Hendrix and Kurt, despite the fact that he already said he doesn't like pool. And we're supposed to take that as a sweet gesture because he knows that Ellen likes to play pool and those are her friends. And he doesn't know that Ellen hates those guys, so she just feels obligated to play pool with them instead of saying, hey, actually, I know you don't know this, but I don't like these guys, so let's not.
Yeah.
Like, I like pool and I appreciate the gesture, but let's not. Instead, she just does the thing.
Yeah. But also, like, if I were in her place, that's not how I would take it. I'd be
I
like,
know.
you literally just said no to playing pool.
I know.
If you want to go on a date with these guys, have at it. I'll be at home.
Yeah. It's like really fucking annoying. Okay, so this entire time, while Ellen is on this date, before they start playing pool, while they're playing pool, Hendrix is in his own head being insanely jealous. All right?
About Jordan?
About Jordan.
Okay.
Okay? So while they're playing pool, it is revealed that Jordan really is very bad at pool.
Naturally.
Naturally. He's awful. So Hendrix, comes over to her, leans over to whisper in her ear, which I'm sure does not look weird to her date at all. And this happens. He leaned over and murmured, "This dude could never make you happy. I hope you realize that." Blinking in surprise, she turned to gape at him. Because he can't play pool? Because putting the two of you together would be like pairing a Mustang with a pack horse. You're saying I'm too wild for him. I'm saying he's too domesticated for you. You're complete opposites. How do you know? She asked. His gaze swept over Jordan all the way down to his loafers. It's obvious. It has to be obvious to you, too. You just don't want to accept it, for whatever reason.
What would possess you to say that to somebody?
Toxic masculinity, I think.
Could you imagine your cousin brother, who you hate?
Yes, my cousin brother Hendrix, yeah.
Yeah, whom you hate. Yeah,
hate.
You hate him.
I hate him. He sucks.
Leaning down in your ear being like, this guy is never gonna make you happy while you're on a date with that person. You'd be like, get your face away from my mouth or my ear.
Get your face away from my face. Would you like to know how she responds instead?
Yeah.
Okay, so she doesn't respond to him right away immediately. But after they're done playing pool, she does tell Jordan she thinks it's probably best if he just goes back to Libby. And that she's sorry for wasting his time, but she just doesn't think this is going to work out. Because Hendrix got into her head and she's like, I hate this, but he's right.
He has a 5-hour drive. She's going to send him home at 10 p.m.?
Well, I mean, he checked into a motel, so she expects him to, like, go back to the motel, go home in the morning.
Okay.
And he flips the fuck out.
Ooh.
And he's like, you had me drive 5 full fucking hours to go get dinner with you, and you're just gonna end it there? And she's like, I'm sorry. There just isn't any attraction here. I'm really sorry. I understand that this is, this isn't what we wanted, but, like, I'm disappointed too. And he's like, you're disappointed in me? You're not attracted to me? You don't realize this, sweetheart, but you are nothing but a laborer, and dating a guy like me could change your fucking life. And she cusses him out right back and then gets in her truck and leaves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Naturally.
Good for her, honestly.
Really, I wasn't prepared for the laborer line. I thought that he was going to harp on the alternative thing again.
No. He likes that she's alternative. He harps on her for being too poor for him. She's too blue collar for his white collar ass.
I can't believe she owns her own business. How?
I know.
How incredibly.
She's so unsuccessful.
All right.
Yeah. So we hate Jordan.
Yes.
What a fucking monster. We're going to hate him a little more in just a second.
Oh, perfect.
So she is driving home, and behind her, she notices that this car is taking all the same turns as her. But it's dark, so all she can see is headlights. She doesn't know what kind of car it is. She doesn't know if it's Jordan, and she's like, if it is Jordan, I'm leading him right back to my place, but where the fuck else am I supposed to go? Like, I could go to Tallulah and Brant's house, but I don't want to wake them up. It's like 11 o'clock at night.
I feel like not being murdered is a reason to wake up your friends.
Yeah, so she doesn't. She goes right to her house. And it turns out it is Jordan.
And that's where the book ends, because he murders her, because he's a serial killer.
Yeah, happy ending. Everybody lives happily ever after.
She should have known he's a dentist. Not to victim blame.
Oh my god.
We might need to cut home.
No, we're leaving that in. I want everybody to know how you feel about the victims of dental murder. Dolly.
Listen.
No. No.
All right. So it's Jordan.
Dun,
dun, dun.
He gets out of the car.
But Hendrix shows up.
Wait.
Come on.
He gets out of the car and he forces himself on her.
Ugh.
He, grabs her. She tries to fight back and he forcefully kisses her.
Okay.
And she's, trying to get away. And he's screaming at her about how she just needs to give him a chance and they could be making love right now, but instead she's being a bitch. And then, wham! He's suddenly thrown off of her.
Okay.
Because Hendrix is punching him in the face.
Because Hendrix showed up to do the same thing.
No.
Oh.
No.
Why was Hendrix there?
He shows up for much stupider reasons.
Okay.
Yeah. He shows up for much, much stupider reasons.
To stop her from getting lucky tonight?
No. Because he wants to call a truce.
Right. The timing is suspicious.
I think the timing is suspicious too.
Okay.
I don't think it makes any sense that he's there. But he is there, and he has blood all over his shirt because he has possibly broken Jordan's nose.
Yeah.
While Hendrix is beating the shit out of Jordan.
I hope he has a good dentist.
He does it himself. It's like, eh.
Yeah, here we go.
While Hendrix is beating up Jordan, Ellen is calling the police.
Yeah,
because she was just assaulted.
Right.
So 911's on the line. 911 is like, hi, what's your emergency? And Hendrix says, hang up. She's like, why would I hang up? He's like, the cops can't do shit for you. What are you going to tell them? That he kissed you? That's not enough. That's not enough to count as assault. They're not going to do anything. Just hang up. So she hangs up.
Okay.
And then Jordan says, I swear to God, call those motherfuckers back right now because I want to press charges on this guy for assault. And she's like, no, I think you should go back to Libby. So Jordan scampers off.
Right, naturally.
And they do not call the police.
But does Jordan?
No.
That's surprising.
Yeah, it is kind of surprising. I need you to know that I was really, really upset at this part, and I did Google, and yes, that is enough to count as assault. The only amount of grace I am willing to give this book is that this is goddamn Montana in a 3,000-person town, so it is really possible that the cops in this tiny little town would do nothing about it.
Well, yeah.
But you're really going to give the advice to a woman that was just assaulted to not call the police on the man who really genuinely could have raped her? And this is his MO, to meet people online and go and find them and assault them if he doesn't get his way?
You're just really proving my dentist serial killer theory.
I'm not. Brenda Novak is. My dentist is really nice. My dentist has never assaulted me.
Meet up on Tinder. See what happens.
I'm going to match you with my dentist for your next dental cleaning. I'm pretty sure we have the same insurance.
All right.
Okay. So that happens. And then she's like, so why are you here? And he's like, oh, I just wanted to talk about calling a truce. And then he says some shit about her dad that makes her remember that she hates him. So then he leaves after he's already taken off his shirt and she's gotten a big old view of that candy. And so now she's starting to feel feelings.
It's amazing how easy it is to generate feelings for somebody as soon as you've seen their bare chest.
I know. That happens a lot in the books I've been reading lately, actually.
That's actually where love comes from.
It is.
It's the nipplage.
Exactly. It's only nipples.
That's actually why you can't
nipples
show your nipples.
In public.
Oh, yeah, or on IG. You can't do
or
it.
on Instagram, yeah. No nipples on Instagram because they're not dating site.
No, they are not. They can't be responsible for the masses falling in love
with each other. So now that she's seen his nipples, she's starting to fall in love with him, and she has his bloody shirt so that she can clean him. He goes home in shame in one of her tight t-shirts, which is the funniest imagery.
All right. He didn't just go bare-chested?
Yeah.
Because then if somebody saw him, they'd fall in love?
Or they would know. They don't want anyone to know that they've been seeing each other, even, like, as friends.
Okay, but he's in her t-shirt. Her alternative Gap, only she shops at that Gap t-shirt, they would figure it out. Maybe. I think it's less obvious if he shows up topless and then they get distracted by falling in love with his nipples.
He's even been parking down the street so nobody sees his truck or her house.
This plan is crazy.
It's really stupid, and it's messed up that it works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All
okay,
right.
That same night, pretty sure it's either this night or the night that Rocco calls her, somebody doorbell ditches her house and leaves a rock on her porch.
That's not at all.
Yeah.
Threatening.
She's super weirded out until she picks up the rock and she realizes that it's actually an amethyst geode. And she thinks it's the most beautiful thing she's ever seen and the best gift she's ever received. So she keeps it on her coffee table. I really wish this wasn't an important detail, but you're gonna have to remember it for later.
No, I don't know that I would forget that.
Yeah. She doesn't. She thinks about it all the time, and they mention it twice in the book after this.
Plot twist, it was Leo.
Well, that's up in the air. Like, I thought it was Leo for most of the book, so I was like, who the fuck else is gonna leave her a rock?
Well, because he thinks she's really cool.
She thinks she's great. Yeah, and he probably thinks rocks are great.
I mean, who doesn't?
Spoiler alert, it's not Leo. It's okay, don't guess. Don't guess because I'll tell you later.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so she's assaulted by Jordan. She sees...
It's Rocco.
She sees that guy's nipples. She gets a rock from not Rocco. And then she goes to bed.
His name is Rock-O.
Yeah. She goes to bed.
Okay.
So that was Friday.
Okay.
Okay, so she goes to the dessert diner the next day because she doesn't have work because Ben is still in Salt Lake City with his girlfriend at the wedding.
Right.
And Tallulah's like, you should call the police because Tallulah, again, is not an idiot.
Right.
And Ellen is just like, no, because if I call them, they're not going to do anything. And then Hendrix is just going to get arrested for assaulting Jordan. And I don't want that. And instead of focusing on that little bit, Tallulah's like, I'm sorry, do you care what happens to Hendrix? I thought you hated him. And then they talk about that for a little while. And then they get interrupted. Oh no, Ellen says instead of calling the police, she's going to report him to dating site. So that he has that on his record. Because that's the same thing.
Yeah, naturally.
Yeah. And Tallulah's like, you're not being a girl's girl. Excuse me. Okay. You really need to look out for the other women that this man could victimize. And Ellen's like, meh.
Wow.
Yeah. So then they get interrupted by a new character walking in. Her name is Avril.
Levine.
Yes.
Perfect.
I knew you were going to say that because I was thinking it the whole book. So Avril walks in. Here's the backstory. Avril is the sister to Charlie, who is the man that Tallulah left at the altar in order to be with Brand, who was Avril's crush at the time. That's the plot of the last book.
That sounds like a way better dramatic book.
I probably should have read that one. This one was $3. So
it was fiscally responsible.
I bought it for you as a joke gift, and then I decided to read it for fun, and that's why we're here today.
Perfect. Okay.
So Avril hates Tallulah.
Enough to patron her store. Yes.
Exactly.
Okay, naturally.
It does not make sense that Avril is here right now.
Yes.
It makes zero sense that she's at Tallulah's diner.
No.
No. She's really probably just here so we get introduced to her, because now there's some exposition about probably something that happened off page and not in the last book at all, because it happened like last week. Ellen ran into Avril and her mom at the grocery store, where Avril said she hopes that the diner fails, because then Tallulah could go back to Seattle where she came from, and Brand could finally divorce her and be open for Avril, and Tallulah would deserve that.
Damn.
And Ellen cussed her out in the grocery store.
All right.
So
Ellen is one girl's girl.
Yeah, Ellen is a girl's girl to Tallulah only.
Yeah, naturally.
And herself, I guess. These are like 3 out of the 5 girls we meet in the entire book, so...
That's weird.
Yeah, it is weird, considering how many goddamn characters there are in this fucking book. So, Avril hates Ellen, is what you need to know.
Okay, perfect.
Avril hates Ellen, Avril hates Tallulah. Everybody else kind of hates Avril, too. She kind of sucks, and in my mind, she is played by my middle school bully in the movie.
Was Charlie, like, an asshole?
Charlie is an asshole.
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
He's an asshole in the book. I don't like him.
Okay.
Avril, it seems like she was gonna stick around, but she decides to leave as soon as she sees that Ellen is there. But before she leaves, she drops off a package of prom photos for Tallulah that are of Tallulah and Charlie, Avril's brother, going to prom.
I mean, shitty timing, man.
I know. Well, and we don't understand why she's delivering these prom photos. We're supposed to interpret that as a big middle finger from Avril.
Okay.
But I don't really get it. So that happens, and Avril is just really important to the story, so you have to know her.
She feels important.
Yeah. So Hendrix and Leo are driving around town. Hendrix is kind of looking around to see if he can see Jordan's car, which I don't know if I mentioned before, but is a white Audi with Oregon plates.
Okay.
Because he's originally from Portland.
Right.
But it's really important that I tell you that the audiobook pronounces Oregon.
I think that... Was it really hard for you to pay attention?
Yes! That's why I had to tell you. It was so hard. And it was mentioned in several Goodreads reviews of this book. And they were like, that is not how you pronounce Oregon.
So, it's like a thing, because a lot of East Coasters say Oregon.
This audiobook reader must be. Because I was starting to think, are you from the UK? What is happening? Are you putting on an American accent? Who calls it that?
It's like East Coast, and it makes people from Oregon so mad.
I'm sure it does.
Yeah.
I'm sure it does. Yeah, no, it was very distracting. So it wasn't really important that I tell you that, but I needed you to know.
No, yes.
So then anyway, while they're driving around, Leo sees Ellen sitting outside of the dessert diner and begs to stop because he wants to play in the diner again.
Yes.
Right? But Hendrix has already had a huge fight with his aunt about letting Leo be around Ellen, and she has already explicitly said, keep him away from her. Okay, so this is where she's wearing that tiered dress with the sweater and the hoop earrings and the work boots, which again, I just feel like is very hipster fashion.
Yes.
Hendrix is thrown off by how feminine she looks. That's why he's described as being out of sync, because it makes him go wild in the head. And I've just never seen her so feminine before. Wow. And it says right there, he was starting to think that she looked pretty. Really pretty. And from here on out, they will continue to describe how sexy he thinks she is at like every corner, which, is great. Good for her.
He had his dick tingling before this, but he didn't think she was pretty.
I know.
What?
I know. Yeah.
Is it just because she was naked and that itself made him feel that way?
The robe was closed, and it sounds like it was a full-length bathrobe, too. It's not like she was walking around like Hugh Hefner or something. But regardless, he starts to have a crisis about how he's starting to like Ellen, but how his aunt and uncle dislike her so much, and he doesn't know how to, like, reconcile those two things. Like, how am I supposed to have a relationship with her if my uncle dad and aunt mommy don't want me to?
It's hard.
It is hard.
Especially when that's your sister cousin.
Yeah, if you want to fuck her.
Yeah.
Because she's so pretty sexy.
She's so pretty sexy. Now that I've seen her in a feminine attire.
A dress and work boots.
Yes.
Yeah. But so Ellen's not working that day, so she tells Leo, I'm sorry, we can't play in the diner today.
Okay.
But I'm going to help out tomorrow. Do you want to come back tomorrow? Because she doesn't recognize that what she's doing is putting herself between Hendrix and his aunt by making Hendrix decide whether it's okay for Leo to come back tomorrow.
Right.
She doesn't think about that at all.
Well, she doesn't know that relationship.
Right, she doesn't understand that. So Hendrix agrees, despite knowing that Lynn is going to be absolutely furious.
Okay.
Yeah.
But she looks pretty hot, so.
She looks pretty hot.
Yeah.
Pretty sexy.
Pretty sexy.
Yeah. So they have that. Then it cuts immediately to somebody doorbell ditching Hendrix's house while he's home. And when he opens the door, it's not a rock. It's his cleaned up t-shirt in a bag.
Ah.
And he texts her and he's like, you could have, like, said hi.
Yeah.
And she's like, that's okay. By the way, you can have Ben. I'm firing him on Monday.
Oh.
Yeah, because she's starting to get fed up with how much she has to pay him, and it's genuinely cutting into her bills. This she has figured out within 1 week.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, this was pretty fast decision. Hendrix is, like, immediately like, shit. Like, he really didn't want to have to hurt her business this way, and he feels like a bastard for having done that to her.
Yeah.
The next day, Hendrix drives Leo to the diner to drop him off. Before he leaves, for some reason, he and Ellen have a full-on conversation about their family dynamics. And
sometimes you just fall into those.
Yeah, I don't know.
You're like, hey, while I have you here.
Yeah, and basically the only important thing that comes up from this is he admits to Ellen that he thinks a lot of the stress in their lives is due to his aunt. He's like, yeah, I think Lynn is part of the problem.
Yeah.
But he lets Stuart off so easy.
Yeah.
He's like, it's not Stuart's fault. The only reason he's so quiet about everything is because he has to have peace in his life. And in order to have peace with his life, he has to agree with everything his wife says. And I just really want to say out loud that having watched that exact dynamic in my own family, that is both a symptom and signal of a man in an abusive relationship, and B, not fair.
Yeah.
Because he is perpetuating the problems going on in this family by staying silent.
Right.
When he definitely has power to make a change. And he just chooses not to. Not saying that if you're in that situation, it's an easy thing to do. No. But I don't think it's fair to say, let Stuart off easy. He's just trying to agree with his wife so that he has peace in his life. That's fucking psychotic.
Right.
That sucks. Anyway, she snarks at him about being her father's favorite. And blah, 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 he leaves.
They don't have a good time with these conversations.
No, they don't. And they're just
not
keep having them.
Anything.
They have them so much. So he starts getting worried, but not until like 5:30. He's like, why isn't Leo home? So he drives over to Ellen's house to find Leo playing with sidewalk chalk on her driveway. Turns out that Ellen had given him the money he earned for working that day, and he got to buy chalk himself, and he's so excited. And Ellen and Tallulah and Branch are having wine on the porch, and they invite him to join them. He stays out of politeness for like one drink, but then he has to dip because they are having Sunday dinner, but he doesn't want to tell Ellen that because he doesn't want her to realize that she's never been invited to Sunday dinner.
Oh.
So they leave.
Yeah.
And then Hendrix immediately has a huge screaming fight with Lynn at Sunday dinner.
Perfect.
Because Leo immediately tells her how good of a time he had with Ellen that day, and he totally went behind Lynn's back by doing that with Leo today, right? So it makes sense they had a screaming fight. What doesn't make sense is how this screaming fight dissolves into Lynn screaming about how horrible a 10-year-old was to her, and that's why she has to be horrible to an adult woman now.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they have that screaming match. He leaves. On his way out, Stuart is like, you oughta just keep the peace, son. You oughta just stay silent at times like this. And Hendrix is like, fuck you, basically.
Sure.
And he leaves, and he goes back to Ellen's house to join Ellen, Tallulah, and Brant for burgers.
Okay.
So they have a really nice time.
Perfect. Family dinner.
He stays past when Tallulah and Brant leave.
Okay.
Okay. We're entering what
did Tallulah and Brant respond? Because as far as they're aware, Hendrix and Ellen hate each other.
They're trying to set them up this whole time.
Oh, good. Okay, naturally.
They're trying to set them up the whole time.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. Tallulah especially. Brant basically says nothing in the book.
Well, isn't that what you do for your best friends?
Yeah, that's why you're married.
Yeah. To my cousin brother.
Yeah. That's how you met.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know from first hand.
You're right.
Yeah.
We'll see, man. Hopefully you get set up next.
I've been trying.
Yeah. You got a cousin sister.
Yeah. All those lady cousins of yours that I keep bringing over. Do you even have cousins? Okay.
Do you even have family?
We don't have family, but not like cousins.
It is pretty rare to have cousins
in this
day and age.
I have so many cousins. I have over 20 cousins.
I know, I have a really big job to go through all of them.
I know.
It was hard to pick Johnny.
He was the only one who was also my brother. We look so much alike. So, he stays past when Tallulah and Brant leave.
All right.
Because he wants to have a conversation. And the conversation he wants to have is again, about having a truce.
Okay.
But before...
It's not about his dick tingling?
No.
Oh.
Not yet.
I feel like that would be horrible to bring up.
It's bad timing.
Yeah.
I wish that's the conversation that they did have. It would save us a lot of time.
Okay.
But instead they have a fight about their parent aunts and uncles.
Okay.
And he says something, and he says, do you want me to talk to Ben and get him to stop being such a jackass so that I can prove to you that I want to be friends with you? And she's like, no, I'm just going to fire him. Like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And
poor Ben.
Ellen is having a hard time believing him when he says that he wants to be friends. So in response to that, in response to her being like, I just don't understand what you get out of this, he gets up, he tilts her chin up, and he lays one right on her.
Whoa!
He just kisses her right out of the blue and says, good night, and then leaves. Like, out of nowhere. Mid-conversation.
But he knows that she saw his nipples, so...
Yeah.
Yeah, naturally.
Right.
He thought that she would definitely accept it.
Yeah, and he's...
Random.
He's seen her alternative outfits, so they're like halfway there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and their family, so...
Right.
We're always close to our family.
Right. So she's having a whole...
Coyote Valley.
What?
You're in Coyote Valley.
A canyon, thank you. Coyote Canyon.
My bad.
It's not the same kind of mountainous structure. Formation.
Perfect.
That's what they're called. I'm a geologist. So she, like, spends all night having a lot of exposition about how she feels about that.
Okay.
But then she gets a text from Jordan, who's fucking pissed that she reported him to dating site.
They told him?
Yeah.
Why would they tell him?
I don't know. Because men rule the world. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah. And for some reason, she texts him back for a while. Like, they go back and forth. And she just ends up riling him up.
Why would she text back?
I don't know. Because she's never learned any safety skills or something.
Yeah.
She's kind of a moron.
I would have already blocked this man.
Yeah. Just as a PSA for anybody listening, if you don't know this, if you are trying to avoid somebody, never respond when they text you, especially if they're angry. Don't do that. So she just riles him up even more, and he says,
she needs to get a dog.
I know.
Okay.
He has a dog, and he never comes up. It's really upsetting. Anyway, so he texts back, and he says, I will make you regret this.
Oh boy. Okay.
Yeah. He is, like, actively threatening her at this point. And then we just ignore that for a little while.
Oh, well, not a big deal. Plus, she's got to fire Ben.
Yeah, exactly. So the next morning, she's supposed to be back at the well site that she stole from Fetterman Wells all the way at the beginning of the book. Remember that from an hour of talking ago?
Yes.
Yeah. So she's supposed to be back there finally doing the dig site because Ben is supposed to be back from Salt Lake.
Right.
So she texts him and is like, hey, are you on your way? Last night, he had texted her and told her that he was already home. But this morning, he's texting her saying, hey, sorry, we're stuck. We broke down halfway there.
Oh.
And she's like, so you lied to me. And he's like, no, I thought we were going to be home, so I told you we were home. She's like, could you then just, like, send me a picture of the nearest road sign? And he's like, no, I shouldn't have to do that. She's like, okay, so you lied to me, and you're fired.
Yeah.
And he's like, fucking pissed about it. Not pissed enough to make a phone call, pissed enough to type out a lot of texts in all caps.
Okay.
But he's pissed. And he calls Hendrix almost immediately and is like, guess what? I'm your new driller. And Hendrix is like, guess what? Position is filled. It's been 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Which isn't true. It's not filled. But he doesn't want to hire Ben now because he will feel like an asshole.
Okay.
So now Ben hates both of them.
Naturally.
Obviously, because he's, like, jobless now.
Yeah.
But Hendrix knows that he did something wrong and cost Ellen an employee, and that's going to cost her this job. So he drives out to the well site, and he offers to help her with it.
Okay.
And they have some back and forth about, what am I going to owe you? You're not going to owe me anything. We're just going to do this job together. Blah, blah, blah. And so then they do the job together.
Okay.
For 2 full days, where Hendrix is pretending to be working his regular job and actually working this job and getting closer and closer with Ellen.
I mean,
yeah. They have a few more of those emotional conversations where they talk about what it was like to be children, and they're open with each other, and they don't turn into fights, and they enjoy it, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm yada-yadaing over it because it's really boring.
Okay.
It's really, really boring. It should be the interesting part.
Yeah.
Because what I like about a romance novel is watching 2 people fall in love.
Right.
Watching these 2 fall in love is incredibly boring. I feel bad saying that, but it's really, really boring.
Yes.
Regardless, at the end of the job, the night that they finish the well, Stuart calls Hendrix and wants to patch things up between Hendrix and Lynn, right, by being their mediator.
He's notoriously a very good mediator.
Such a great mediator. This is like his #1 skill.
He's very empathetic.
Yeah, he's basically a therapist.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's great. So his way of patching things up between Hendrix and Lynn, he thinks, is to explain to Hendrix why Lynn feels the way that she feels. And the reason that he gives doesn't really make sense, but he says the truth is he did pay all of the child support that Jan told Ellen he didn't pay. And he even, like, gives receipts to Hendrix. He's like,
okay,
I have all of the checks, all of the check receipts for those child support payments. I paid all of the child support, which was incredibly generous considering the fact that I don't think Ellen is my real daughter.
Oh!
Yeah. That's the big twist in the story. We're not sure, because he thinks Jan was a little too buddy-buddy with the pothead who lived next door.
Okay.
Which is probably just her dealer.
Yeah.
Probably. But he also thinks that that pothead was too buddy-buddy with his kid, which is probably because she didn't have a father in her life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because even when they were together, he was just always working.
Right.
But that's Lynn's thing, is like, they were paying child support payments on a kid that probably wasn't even his.
I mean, it's too bad there's not, like, a way to test that or something.
Well, and it's too bad that that's supporting a child who needs it.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing, too, is, like, if that's been your daughter since she was born, it's still, like, he had no problem raising Hendrix, but he has a big problem with
supporting
that he's on the birth certificate for. Okay.
And Hendrix asks, do you want to find out? Do you want to test? Because I'm sure Ellen would be really interested in finding out, too. And he's like, absolutely not. No, I don't need to know. I put it all behind me. Which is so classically, like, thinking about yourself only in the situation. Like, oh, I'm sorry, there's another human being involved.
But also, it would be different if he's like, I don't need to know, I put it behind me, and was there for her whole life.
Right.
Like, he was like, no, I made my decision.
And it's affecting other people every single day.
But it's because he would feel bad if it came back and they are
positive,
related.
And he wasn't her dad.
No.
He was her dad, but he wasn't a dad to her.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So annoying. So that happens, and then we just leave that there for a little while.
Perfect.
And by a little while, I mean the rest of the book. I need you to know that Hendrix knows this the whole time.
Wow.
The whole time. And he says nothing about it. Which it's not his to say.
Yeah.
But there are times in the book where I'm like, Hendrix, if you would just be honest with her, that might be helpful.
Yeah. Naturally.
Instead, we cut to an entire chapter that is unnecessarily from the point of view of Tallulah.
Okay.
The only thing we learn is that Charlie, Avril's brother, saw the Fetterman Wells truck parked at the well drilling site, so knows that Hendrix was helping Ellen with the well. Like, he saw it there in the morning, he came back and he saw it there at night.
Okay.
So he thinks that's pretty weird.
Isn't that the site of, like, his friend, Jay? Didn't you say that was his friend's house?
Yeah, but these two historically have hated each other so much that they've gone out of their way to avoid each other. So isn't that just such interesting information and gossip for the town?
Okay.
That this is the talk of Coyote Canyon.
Well.
Set the thing in the thing. So that's literally all we get from that chapter. The next time that Ellen and Hendrix talk, it's about Jordan. Because Ellen gets a text from Jordan.
How has she not blocked this man?
I know. And Hendrix tells her, you should text him back.
What the fuck?
So that we can figure out how hostile he is.
Nope, you know.
So that we can figure out if we need to do something about it.
What would you do?
Not call the police.
No, why would you call the police?
Not call the
police.
police.
If he's hostile.
If he's hostile.
Yeah.
So it turns out he's very hostile.
Yes.
It also turns out that he's teamed up with what he is describing as a person in town who hates Ellen just as much as I do.
Ben.
No.
Oh.
Who else?
Lynn.
No.
Oh.
That was who I thought.
Rocco.
No. Good.
Sniper.
No. Who's Sniper?
Sniper, no sniping.
Swiper. Swiper, no swiping. No, keep that. I need the people to know.
No, I never watched Dora the Explorer.
I hated Dora the Explorer as a child.
Okay.
As much as you hate the dentist.
I don't think Dora the Explorer was a serial killer.
I do.
Damn.
Keep that in.
Okay.
No.
Insert another villain. The
Avril.
Joker. What is... Oh,
It's Avril.
I forgot about her.
Jordan started dating Avril.
Gross.
Immediately.
Right.
And
did they meet in town?
Yes, because he never left.
He still hasn't left. It's Monday.
He never
Tuesday,
left.
Wednesday.
Yeah, it's Monday or
Thursday.
Tuesday.
No, because you said they worked at the site for 2
they
days.
did. Yeah, it's like Wednesday or Thursday.
Yeah.
I think it's either Tuesday or Wednesday.
Okay.
Because they might have worked on Sunday.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's either Tuesday or Wednesday. He has been here since Friday. So he's a bad dentist.
Well.
He sucks. He's
not
not doing his
keeping
job.
Appointments.
So people have been seeing this white Audi with Oregon plates around.
Ah,
Mm-hmm.
yes.
And we know that Avril and Jordan have been dating. So Jordan meets Avril at a bar. That's the luck
The
part
bar.
of this. The bar. It's called Hank's.
Okay.
Propane
accessories? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just drink a glass of propane. So Jordan runs into Avril at Hank's, tells her a sob story about how he dropped Ellen off at her house and she had set him up to make her boyfriend jealous and her boyfriend punched him in the face, but he didn't say who punched him in the face.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. So this is all a fabrication, right?
Yeah, naturally.
Because he followed her home and it was Hendrix, her brother cousin, who punched him in the face.
Right.
And he knows that. So Avril feels bad for this guy and is predisposed to think absolutely Ellen would do something like that because she already hates Ellen.
Right.
Right. So she's on Team Jordan. That night, because the night that they finished the well, right? That night, Hendrix comes over to her house unwarranted or unasked for with...
Unannounced?
That's the one.
Okay.
Hendrix comes over to her house.
Unwarranted, too.
Unwarranted, unwanted, unannounced with flowers and wine.
Okay.
The flowers are really important to Ellen because nobody's ever bought her flowers before.
Oh, okay.
Except for several people who had bought her bouquets before, which is mentioned.
All
Except
right.
these are Montana wildflowers, and they are exactly the ones she would have picked out for herself.
Good. I love the trope of, it's like you've always known me.
I know, exactly.
Yeah, so good.
So he brings them in the house. She's very, touched by that. She does ask, why did you bring me flowers? And he says, because I thought you'd be more likely to let me in.
Oh.
And I was like, great. Hendrix is really proving himself to be the hero of this story. Love it. So he looks at her coffee table and sees the rock. And he's like, where'd you get this? And she's like, somebody left it on my doorstep. And he's like, that's weird. She's like, I know, but isn't it so pretty? It's like the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. He's like, oh, that's cool. And he puts it very carefully on her coffee table and very carefully arranges the flowers to be right next to it.
Cute. Okay.
Very cute. Yeah, he's respectful
Of the rock.
of the rock and her love of the rock. He says he's there because he wants to help watch out to see if Jordan comes to her house and acts like a total monster again.
Yep.
Instead, they fuck.
Yes.
Because she's in a bathrobe again. And he just can't help himself.
Okay.
So they make out a little bit. They have sex. My note says they fuck and it's fine, I guess. But
Does he go and dry?
No.
Oh, good.
No, he fingers her into oblivion.
Into oblivion.
Yeah.
It's the best place to be fingered, I think.
And then they tell you absolutely nothing about how he sticks it in and it's the best sex she's ever had, except that happens.
Oh.
They don't describe it. They just call back to it a lot.
They call back to... So...
Yeah. So let me read the scene
That
for
just
you.
makes it sound like soaking.
Okay. All right, so allow me to read you the part where we discover how long it's been for each of them.
Okay.
Her hand lifted his chin so that he had to look into her eyes. This is crazy. It's crazy, he agreed, but it's good, right? You feel it too, don't you? I feel it, she admitted. What are we gonna do? He asked. I don't know. There's so much going on inside my head. A cacophony of voices. On top of all that, it's been a long time for me since... Since? He repeated. I've been with a man. The fact she'd even bring that up made his heart race. It showed he wasn't the only one thinking about taking this a lot further. How long? Nearly 3 years. Since before I left Anaconda. She hadn't slept with anyone since moving to Coyote Canyon? Actually, he wasn't all that surprised.
Jesus Christ. I didn't even realize she was pretty until the other day. Obviously nobody's fucked her.
It's been a little over 6 months for me, he said, thinking of Jennifer Pullman, his ex-girlfriend. But you've heard it's like riding a bike, haven't you? He said jokingly. No matter how long it's been, it's easy to slip right back in.
Yep.
I don't know about that. Not with you. Especially with me, he said, and reached for the belt on her robe. Can I see you? And that's how we find out all of that, which is so weird to me because it, like, insinuates that you just get bad at sex if you don't do it for a while.
I mean, I don't know.
I don't know either.
I think people who take a really long break from riding a bike, it's not like you've forgotten the mechanics of how to ride a bike.
You're just messy at it.
But you are messier.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. They are not messy. They are not messy.
Oh, I thought you said it wasn't dry.
It wasn't. Well. It's a really short scene. Do you want me to read it?
Yeah.
Okay. There was this whole scene where he gives her an orgasm by fingering her, which did not take very long at all.
Well, it's been 3 years.
And then he asks if she has,
condom?
Nope. Birth control.
Ah.
Sorry. He asks if she has birth control. She says no. He digs in his wallet, so we think that's going to be a thing.
You're right.
He digs in his wallet and he's got a condom in there. And he's like, oh, thank God. And then that's it. So I don't know why they foreshadowed that so hard. Also,
because she's
really
gonna get
lucky
pregnant as soon as they start the next book.
That's true. We're really lucky that condom's not old and expired. It's only been 6 months, but I'm pretty sure condoms' expiration dates are like 1 year.
Also, when you're in a relationship long term, which apparently is his MO.
He'd only been with her for 3 months.
Oh.
Jennifer Pullman.
Got it.
Yeah. But that's long term. Okay, so let me read the scene for you. I'm just gonna read you the part where there was like an orgasm.
Just that part.
Yeah. Okay.
Skip all other content.
Because everything
and then
else is
came.
just exposition. There's so much of her thinking in her head about how, like, anyway, fine. It's good. Okay. It's good. Okay. All right. This was far more than Ellen had expected, but the desire she felt had overcome her unusual caution. She could... Oh, I'm sorry. Not unusual. Her usual caution.
Got it.
I'm doing great, guys.
You are.
Dyslexia's not winning today. Bitch. Okay. She couldn't even bring herself to think about the reasons she shouldn't allow Hendrix to touch her so intimately. What she was experiencing in this moment crowded out everything else. As the pleasure increased, her breathing grew ragged. She was edging closer and closer to climax, and was beginning to worry about the opposite of what she'd been worried about a few minutes earlier. Not that he'd touch her, but that he'd stop touching her. Fortunately, he didn't. As the tension built, she felt her body go taut. Then the pleasure broke over her like a tidal wave crashing through a barrier. She jerked and gasped as he lifted his head, wearing a self-satisfied smile as he watched her recover. Was it good, he asked. One of the best, she admitted, as his dimples opened as he tugged her to her feet and led her down the hallway to her bedroom. And then there are 4 paragraphs of her saying to herself, this is my chance to end this now. This is my chance to stop this.
Now that I've gotten off, we should stop.
I should say no. I should say no to the rest of this, but he would think I'm a monster if I did, so they have sex.
Oh.
But we don't hear about it.
I don't think I've ever...
Mm-hmm.
I wish there were therapists in
I know.
Coyote Canyon, because...
Yeah, so then we cut to the next morning.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, therapists would be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, they wake up because Tallulah is banging on the door at 6 a.m. She is freaked the fuck out because she's also worried about Ellen, and Ellen has not responded to any text or phone calls for like 12 hours.
Yeah, because she's been getting
some.
Yeah.
And then there's some talk about how they're like really afraid that they're gonna get caught with Hendrix at her house, but he parked down the street, so it's okay. And he's all like, would it be that bad if Tallulah knew? And she's like, it's not about not trusting Tallulah. It's about like everything else.
What the fuck does that mean?
I don't really know.
Okay,
I can't figure out why it matters so much that Tallulah doesn't know, except for plot reasons. Okay, so they have a really lovely morning together.
Just broken the fourth wall.
I know.
Tallulah can't find out. That would make this plot super boring.
It basically did that.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is where the book really speeds up, but it also turns into a completely different book.
Oh, okay.
Okay, we are now entering a mystery novel.
Oh, God.
Welcome to it. Somebody threw something down the house some well and spray painted Ellen is a bitch on the side of his chicken coop. Who could it be? We have our suspects, okay? We know who they are. They're Rocco, the old man that she jilted. Ben, the single employee that she fired. Lynn, her aunt stepmom, who hates her guts. And Jordan, the guy that she met online, who tried to assault her, and then she reported him to dating site. And also Avril, who she cussed out in a grocery store.
Yeah.
All of those people hate Ellen for completely reasonable reasons, I'm sure, and would be mad enough to destroy the well. So we have to break down their motives, means, and opportunity one by one. We're just going to assume that they all had the means and opportunity because we really only talk about motive.
What? Does everybody know where the well is and everything?
Yeah, this is a small town.
Okay.
Well, the only person that we're concerned about that with is Jordan.
Yeah.
Jordan wouldn't know shit about this.
No, but Avril would.
Yeah,
okay.
Avril would, and she would know that Ellen was working there because Charlie knew.
Yeah.
Right? So that seems like the most likely candidate, but Jordan doesn't know shit about wells because he's a city slicker. So Ellen goes out to the job site to talk to Jay, does all of the work to fix it for free, and notices tire tracks that she takes a picture of. She's collecting clues.
Yes, she is.
Okay. Nobody knows about the tire tracks except for her right now, and she forgets about them almost immediately.
I really wasn't ready for this whole recording session to go back to the mystery gang.
I know.
I'm gonna be honest with you.
The mystery gang is just her and Hendrix, because they're like, calling the cops would do nothing.
There's a weird theme.
There is a weird theme.
I would like the next book to be about the cops, so that we can get an idea of who they are in this town.
I am not overtly pro-cop, okay? But it is weird that the cops never get called in this book.
Yeah, also, it's weird because I feel like in small towns, people do, because they know who they are.
Right, that's why it's weird, is because it's small town Montana.
Yeah.
Call the fucking sheriff. Is the sheriff bad in this town? He must be. Let's break these down really fast.
Okay.
So, Hendrix goes to Avril's house to kind of interrogate her to find out if it was Jordan.
Okay.
He doesn't think it's Avril, but he thinks that Avril might have helped Jordan do it.
Okay.
And Avril is just offended and really defensive about it and slams the door in his face.
Makes sense.
So he's like, okay, so probably them. That would make sense. At the same time, we start thinking that maybe it could be Rocco.
That makes sense.
But just when we're starting to think it's Rocco, Rocco calls Ellen.
Except he could break a hip or something.
He's old.
He's old.
Yeah. Old enough, at least, to be described as too old for Ellen.
Yeah.
So, just as we're thinking that, Rocco calls Ellen and tells her that he's got a clue to who it might be.
That's what I would do if I was trying to throw somebody off my scent.
So here's his story.
Okay.
He was riding his motorcycle with his new sweetheart, who's the head receptionist at the vet clinic.
Perfect. Okay.
In the middle of the night.
Oh. Yeah, they were riding that motorcycle.
Right past the Halcyon property.
Okay.
And they almost get hit by a truck speeding its way out of the driveway of that property.
Okay.
And he got a good look at the truck. It was white, and it had a logo on the side for Fetterman Wells.
Oh.
So now all signs are pointing to...
Ben.
No, Ben doesn't work for them.
That's right.
Yeah.
My bad.
To
Hendrix?
No. You're really bad at guessing today. No, to Lynn.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about her.
Yeah,
Sorry.
it wouldn't be Stuart because he's too...
And Hendrix was blowing her mind.
Right, he has an alibi.
Yeah.
A sex alibi.
A lover's alibi, yes. All right.
Yeah, a sex alibi, that's what I said.
That's what you said.
So that leaves Lynn or Leo, and Leo can't drive, so it's got to be Lynn.
Okay.
Right, and Lynn has
Not
motive.
Stuart? You don't think it's Stuart?
No, he is way too, like, he just wants to stay out of it.
Yeah.
He just wants to stay out of it.
Because Ellen might not be his kid.
Right. So he doesn't think she's a bitch.
Okay.
He thinks she's a bastard.
Ah, totally different.
Exactly.
That exonerates him, honestly.
Yeah.
All right. So they see the Fetterman truck.
So that means it must be Lynn, right? So this
Not
is
Hendrix.
Not Hendrix. So this is great news for Ellen because this gives her a reason to hate Lynn that's like tangible right now in the moment.
Yes.
And it also gives her an opportunity to throw Lynn in jail if she wants to.
Naturally.
And expose her to all her neighbors as a monster.
Is it actually Lynn?
Well, wait.
Okay.
That's just one out of our many suspects.
Yes.
5 suspects. So Ellen tells Hendrix all of this almost immediately, and Hendrix's response is, if it's Lynn, can we handle this quietly? Will you give me an opportunity to find out the story from her? And if I can get her to admit it and pay you reparations, is that enough for you to handle that just us and not go to the cops or tell anyone about it? Which, once again, I feel like is such a dick-ass move.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, I get it, because it could affect his... I mean, it's his family, but could affect his business, too.
It could.
And plus, if he wants to keep fucking his cousin, he can't have his cousin be the reason his aunt mom got sent to jail.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So...
It'll make Thanksgiving dinner really awkward.
It would.
At the county jail.
Mm-hmm. So she accepts.
Okay.
She says, I won't say anything, but I can't control Rocco.
Okay.
And I can't control Jay if he finds out.
Okay.
Jay is the well owner guy.
Yes.
Right. So Hendrix is like, thank you. But then at some point, and I couldn't figure out where, but at some point she's like, and by the way, we probably shouldn't sleep together again.
Oh, okay.
So now his heart is broken.
Naturally.
And his aunt mom is at risk of going to jail.
Okay. Hard day for Hendrix.
Right. This is about where my notes end, so the rest of this is from memory.
Perfect.
Okay. So Hendrix goes back to Lynn and interrogates her, and she is livid that Hendrix would even think of accusing her of doing something like this. But she does feel like really self-satisfied that the well has been trashed and that Ellen's good name is being dragged through the mud. So she brought it up first because she heard it from her nail tech. And then Hendrix was like, that's really interesting, actually. It's really, really interesting because guess what I heard today? And so they have another fight. And Hendrix leaves, and Ellen shares the clue of the tire tracks with Hendrix. And Hendrix takes the picture and starts matching it to tires all around town.
Oh, did he start with Lynn's?
He did.
Okay.
He had to sneak onto their property so that he could match it.
Okay.
And it's not a match.
Okay.
Yeah, not a match at all.
Who vandalizes somewhere with a unique tire tread? Why wouldn't you just drive a, you know?
Well, that's the thing that I couldn't figure out is like all of these people have different tire treads. You'd feel like in a town this small, there'd only be one place that sells tires. And they'd probably be brand specific. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he matches it to Lynn's and it's not a match.
Okay.
So then he's like, Rocco's lying. If it's not a match for the Fetterman Wells truck, then those tire tracks weren't left by that truck, which means that's not who did it. So why is Rocco lying? So he tries to matching it to Rocco's motorcycle and it doesn't match.
Okay.
And they get out of Rocco that he didn't actually see anything at all.
Oh.
He was just trying to get on Ellen's good side and make her jealous of his new boo, who is not his new boo.
Oh.
Which they found out because Ellen and Tallulah went to go ask the veterinary tech, when was the last time you saw Rocco? And she's like, 3 months ago, that guy's a psycho.
Oh, God. Okay.
That guy sucks and he's really possessive and I'm sorry that you're in it, girlfriend, but it's not my circus, not my monkeys anymore.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So then they get Rocco to admit he was just lying and he doesn't know anything.
Okay.
So it's not Lynn, it's not Rocco. So then they go match it to Ben's. But Ben sees Hendrix trying to match the picture to his tires and cusses him out and tells him to get off his property.
Okay.
And the tires aren't a match anyway.
Oh, all right. Well.
Before he leaves, Hendrix is like, do you mind if I match these to your fiance's car too? And his fiance's like, just let him do it. We have nothing to hide. We weren't even in town that day. We were still in Salt Lake City. So like, okay, so Ben does suck. Okay, great. Yeah. So it doesn't match either of their cars. And they've got an alibi.
Okay, perfect.
So it's not Lynn, it's not Rocco, it's not Ben. That leaves Avril and Jordan.
Okay.
Okay. He and Ellen drive 5 hours to Libby. They go to Libby.
And Jordan is still...
Jordan is in Libby now.
Okay.
Jordan had to go back. Hendrix made an appointment to get his teeth cleaned by Jordan so that they would know Jordan was at work.
Oh, okay.
To match the tires. So they match up to the tires. It's not a match.
No, who would drive an Audi onto a work site?
I know. A white Audi, no less. Not a narcissistic dentist, that's for sure. So they don't even go inside. They just leave. Okay. But they have a really nice time in Libby while they're there, and they like have a date and they make out a little. They drive all the way back. Yeah. And when Hendrix gets home, there's a suitcase on his porch. And there's a dog barking in his house. I've just remembered he doesn't own a dog. I said that earlier. He doesn't own a dog. But you know who does own a dog? Leo.
Oh.
Leo ran away and has been at Hendrix's house for almost 24 hours.
Oh.
And Lynn and Stuart didn't notice.
Ew.
Yeah.
Okay.
They didn't notice. So Hendrix goes inside and he tries to talk Leo down, but he's like, I ran away because my mom said I could never see Ellen again, but I want to see you and Ellen every day. Can I live here with you instead?
Okay.
There's this really heart-melting moment of like, this child is an abusive household. Yeah. And also not a child.
No, he's a grown man.
He's a grown man. He's a grown man, but he's like portrayed as though he's like 6 years old.
Yes.
That's how he's written. It's really uncomfy, you know?
Yeah.
So he tried to walk all the way until Jay, who is Hendrix's neighbor, Jay picked him up and drove him all the rest of the way. And he was like, he just got here. He's only been here for a couple of hours. We didn't know what to do. You weren't here. I was just about to call you. And then at that moment, Lynn and Stu drive up too.
Oh, did they finally realize that their son was missing?
Yes. Yes, it took them a while. And there's another screaming match. And Leo's like in tears. He doesn't understand what's going on. He just understands that people are upset.
That doesn't sound right.
No, right? It doesn't make... Okay. See, it's a little icky. So there's a fight, and Stuart realizes because of the fight, he needs to do something. Because Hendrix finally admits that he's getting closer to Ellen, and he's not going to stop. So Stuart decides that he has to do something. So Stuart goes to Ellen's house and has a conversation with her. He catches her in a good mood because she's just had a really lovely time in Libby.
Yeah.
And he says, I don't think you're my kid.
Wow.
And
first time the whole book she's in a good mood, and he's like, hey, now feels like a good time.
This feels like a great time to tell you, I don't think you're my child. And here are copies of all the receipts for child payments, or child support payments.
Okay.
And this is why we hate you. And also, could I just swab your cheek real fast?
Oh, now he wants to be?
He wants. This is the action he's taking. He figures if he can prove definitively one way or the other, then the fighting will stop.
How?
I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. The insinuation is that Lynn will feel better if she knows the answer. Like, she will feel vindicated if she knows, and Ellen knows.
If that were the case, they would have tested it when Ellen was 10.
I know. Exactly. Okay. Exactly. It doesn't make any sense to me. It feels like a huge plot hole. It feels really stupid, but they do it. And Ellen is like anxious for the rest of the book, waiting for the results to come back.
Right.
Right. And she also texts her mom and is like, hey, heard you were a liar about the child support payments. Yeah. And so they have a fight. So now she's not talking to either of her parents.
Right.
And all she has...
And she's got to find that pot dealer somewhere.
Right. And she still doesn't know...
real dad.
She still doesn't know who owes her $1,500 for the repair of the well.
Okay.
So the $1,500 number is important to note because in Montana, that's the point where vandalism becomes a felony.
Okay.
So, Tallulah calls Ellen like the next day or something. And is like, hey, I have someone here who wants to talk to you. Come over to the dessert diner. And when she gets there, Tallulah is there with her friend Jane, who has been introduced to us at this point in the book, but does not matter.
Oh, okay,
until
perfect.
This exact moment.
Oh, brilliant.
Jane used to be friends with Tallulah and Avril in high school. They were like a trio, like besties. They were the Heathers. But with less murder.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably not a good comparison. But they were 3 besties. They were like the Ashleys in Recess. So they were besties, but then because of everything that happened between Tallulah and Avril's family, they're not friends anymore. Jane just tries to be friends with each of them separately. And it's getting really hard because Avril keeps being a bitch.
Yeah.
Right? So Jane tells Ellen when she arrives, "This sucks, but I need you to know Avril borrowed my car that night. The night that the well was vandalized." So Hendrix and Ellen drive over to Avril's house and check her tires, and it's a match.
Oh.
Over to Jane's house, sorry. Yeah. They drive over to Jane's house, match the tires, and it's a match. Which means it wasn't Jordan, it was Avril.
Wow. That's kind of a bold move.
Yes, it also seems like a really big move, considering the crime that Ellen perpetrated against Avril.
Stood up for her friend.
He stood up for her friend by cussing her out in the middle of a grocery store.
Right.
That's pretty minor to then go and do $1,500 worth of damage. A felony.
Yes.
Yeah. So the person who gets to make the call on whether or not to prosecute is technically Jay, because it's his well, but he lets Ellen make the call.
Okay.
He's like, you can either tell Avril to pay you $1,499.95 and to say sorry, or you can prosecute her and she'll be charged with a felony.
Oh, tell me she picked felony.
I really wish she'd picked felony. I would have picked felony. Wouldn't you have picked felony?
Yes.
Yes, because fuck you.
That's
because
also
fuck
a huge escalation.
Yeah, and Ellen decides to do the other thing to be the bigger person.
That's how she's gonna end up getting a rock through her window later.
Yeah, I know. No, she only gets rocks on her doorstep.
Ah, well, romantic.
Yeah, so romantic.
So romantic.
So
the most beautiful rock I've ever seen.
Yeah, so Avril writes her like a formal apology letter, pays her the almost $1,500, and that's the end of it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the end of it.
The book?
Oh, this is right. Okay.
Okay.
So that's the end of the mystery, but Hendrix is still having a fight with his mom aunt.
Yeah,
So
naturally.
he gets fired because it gets out that he's cousin fucking his cousin sister.
They fired him for cousin fucking?
They didn't fire him for cousin fucking. They fired him for Ellen fucking. They're like, you're choosing her over us. You're fired.
Wow.
Yeah. So then
Stuart's a stand-up guy.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't his choice. He's just agreeing to it. It's Lynn's choice.
It's his business. It's his choice. Also, I thought you said they're 50-50 partners. He owns half of that business. You can't fire him. You'd have to buy him out.
I know. It's fucking wild. So he gets fired, and he goes to work for Ellen, replaces Ben. And they decide they're just gonna be business partners together.
Okay.
And even though it's gonna be hard, they're gonna make a go of it. And even though they'll make less money than he was making before, it's been working for her, so they'll just share the finances and live two very expensive lifestyles in peace.
Perfect.
But then the DNA results come back. Do you want to guess how they came back? You've been doing so good with your guesses lately, so...
Positive.
Positive for what?
A daddy.
Okay, daddy positive.
Daddy positive.
They came back daddy negative.
No.
They did.
So she isn't his kid. That actually is kind of a relief.
A little bit.
Because he's shitty.
Sucks.
So now they're not even cousins. I mean, they're still legally cousins.
They're
but
legally
they're not...
cousins, but they're not really cousins, so the cousin fucking doesn't matter.
So everybody's fine with that? What, did she just walk away around with the DNA results? Hendrix did. He was like, she's not really my cousin.
She's not my cousin.
I mean, she wasn't really my cousin before, but now she's also not my cousin.
Nobody cared that they were cousins except for me the whole time. The whole time. So then she walks away and cries because it's really overwhelming. Yeah. Right? And she immediately tells her mom and is like, you lied to me. You told me you didn't have an affair, and you did. You lied to me.
Yeah.
And then they continue to not talk very much for the rest of the book. And Hendrix is like, I thought you would be happy to have the answers. And she's like, honestly, I don't feel like any answer would have been helpful at this point. I don't feel like the answer would have been good news either way.
Yeah.
But it does make Lynn immediately be like, guess she's fine. Guess she's fine now. Whatever.
What happened to the bratty 10-year-old?
I don't know. I don't understand. I will never, ever understand the motivations of Lynn's character.
Right. I feel like I have to go to therapy now after hearing this book.
I know. Okay. I'm sorry, but there's an epilogue.
There's more?
Okay. I'd like to read you the end of the last chapter before the epilogue happens.
Okay.
So they offered Hendrix's job back because he was no longer...
Fucking his cousin
sister. Because he's still fucking Ellen, but fucking Ellen isn't that big of a deal when you know that she's not Stuart's kid for some reason other than because they're cousins.
Right.
I don't really understand.
Okay.
Okay. Have they offered you your job back? She asked. He looked down. Yes. Good. She cleared her throat. I'm happy for you. She opened her door and started to climb in, but he stopped her. Ellen, hot and tingly and on the verge of tears, she desperately wanted to get away so she could recover in private, but he caught her arm. I told them we should buy Truesdale Well and Pump Services and work together. You did what? She cried. Would you be interested? Or at least consider the possibility? Because I won't go back to work with them without you. You want me to join forces with Lynn and Stuart? Be part of their company instead of running my own? It'll be my company. Our company. When Stuart retires, I'm going to get it in writing, the price and everything, before I agree to come back. Do you mean that? She asked in shock. He pulled her into his arms and held her tight. I mean it, he whispered into her ear. I'm here for you. I'll always be here for you.
That doesn't sound like being there for her. That sounds like a shitty solution.
I know. So the end of the book is he's just like, hey, what if we just destroyed the company that you built, sold it off to a bigger company, and then worked on the written promise that one day you and I will both get to own it, even though Stuart and Lynn both have their hands in the pie and have deeply wronged you your entire life, including now.
Yeah.
That's his happy ending story.
Well,
would you like to know how the epilogue goes?
Well digging.
Well
right,
digging.
Yes.
She goes to work for them.
Of course she
She
does.
sells them the company. They're working all together. The epilogue is her and Lynn finally having a normal conversation for the first time in 6 months since she started working for them.
What?
That's the happy ending.
Oh my god.
Mm-hmm. And that is the end of the book.
Honestly, do you feel like we could just go back to the front where we learned Anaconda is a real place and we can just end it there?
Yeah, C Mann, is that a possibility? Could you still make this funny if we did that? That is the end of the book. So, that's how I feel about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. On a scale of 1 to 5.
How do I feel about the book?
How would you rate this book? 5 being glorious, 1 being terrible.
I did rate it on Storygraph. Should I pull that up?
Yeah.
Because my Storygraph review was.
I also need to know how you'd rate the sex.
Okay, while I'm looking this up, the sex was like, It was just like so, It was fine. There was foreplay, and she got off before he did, and like that's fine. They didn't go in dry. They talked about condoms and birth control, which is nice. I don't think the consent talk was very good.
Okay.
Because a lot of the time when he was asking for consent, he was like
already there.
He was already there, or at one point he was like, "Are you sure this is okay? Please say yes." And I'm like, that's not asking for consent, sir.
Yeah.
That's not asking for consent. I rated it 2 out of 5 on Storycraft.
All right.
I don't know why. Now that we've talked about it, I don't know why I gave it 2 stars. I think it was fine, but it was so much that didn't matter.
Yeah.
I think this book, which was a 12-hour listen, could have been a 6-hour listen if an editor really went through it. There are entire swaths of text, like pages and pages and pages of text that do not matter.
Okay.
They're just exposition, and they don't add much to the story.
I do feel like we didn't get the chance to actually see them fall in love at all.
No, a lot of it happened in their head.
Yeah.
You know, but like, it was mostly just, I don't know why I find him so attractive now. I don't get it. He's so hot. He looks like Brad Pitt. I don't get why she's so sexy. I used to think she was weird and unattractive, and now I think she's hot because she's unattractive. It's just so confusing.
It was the nipples.
Huh?
It was the nipples.
It was the nipples.
If only they knew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he never got to see her nipples until they had sex.
Yeah.
But he got to see her in a bathrobe with her hair all wet, and that's basically the same thing.
Oh, what would you have rather done for 12 hours?
Dug a splinter out of my hand.
Do you have an alternative book that you would want somebody to read?
I'm not finished reading this one, but I've been really enjoying it so far.
Okay.
It is 100% purely book candy. I would not say this is like an amazing listen, but it's really fun listen.
Okay.
I totally recommend My Roommate is a Vampire.
Perfect.
It took me so many tries to get into it. I just kept checking it out from the library and accidentally letting it lapse. But it's genuinely worth listening to.
Perfect. Okay. Perfect.
Perfect?
Yeah.
Perfect.
I think that's a great
I think that's
recommendation.
Perfect. So perfect.
Perfect.
Very perfect. You're perfect.
Oh. Stop.
Oh, no.
Are we cousins?
Yeah. And sisters. We're cousin sisters.
How do we sign off?
We don't. We cut it and then put our ending in.
Perfect.
I think. Oh, I remember what we say. Thank you for listening. We love you, but not that way.
We love you, but not the way we love our cousins. All right.
We'll just cut. We'll just cut.
Pull the plug.
That book was rougher than a trip to Dolly's dentist. What crazy nonsense are you bringing to the pod next month?
Next time, we're climbing up a different family tree with Another Dawn by Sandra Brown.
Wow, I can't wait to talk about another family tree.
Find us on Instagram at Womanly Portal Podcast.
Email us at womanlyportalpodcast@gmail.com.
Thanks goes out to Chloe Watts for our music.
A special thanks to C Mann for editing this hot garbage.
Jolene, who gave her the rock? Why was there a rock?
Well, I get farty in the morning, too.
Do you put your asshole right into anybody else's face?
Yeah.